Why companies fail? Well, they fail because they fail to innovate. I can tell you that on my midnight runs, I like to study innovation from different companies. And what I find fascinating is the innovation by Apple, Samsung, Amazon, or Google. And literally, you better grab some coffee because it's going to take you some time to see all the stuff they're doing. I mean, they're doing product announcements, strategic alliances. I mean, literally, like I said, it's a full-time job for a market analyst. But I can tell you that when I look at Facebook or Twitter or even LinkedIn, and don't get me wrong, I like all those companies, you know, tracking their innovation is pretty easy actually, because they are not doing any type of disruptive innovation. In fact, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are relying on what I call the network effects, which is they're relying on building the network, and as they grow their networks, every node brought in or every member brought in increases the value of the entire network. So from that perspective, they're monetizing the eyeballs in various forms, whether it's a subscription or advertising. So they're what you call incremental innovation. So there's two types of innovation: the disruptive innovation and incremental innovation. And one of the things is that there's a Forrester analyst, and his name is Charles Galvin, and he was talking about how Apple has been hammered on their stock price because of their failure to innovate. In fact, he mentioned that their last groundbreaking innovation was the iPad, which was 3 years ago. And you know, when you look at it, iPad was groundbreaking. It's ironic because the media at the time did not really give it a warm welcome. So I started thinking about Apple and how, you know, they've had some, you know, incremental innovations. If you look at their iPhone right now, a lot of it is based on incremental innovation, but it is Samsung and Google that are nipping at its innovation heels. In fact, I think Google Glass is very disruptive innovation. In fact, that's probably one of the reasons why they gained a lot of market momentum besides making a lot of money on their search engine, monetization engine. But Google Glass is disruptive for many reasons. First of all, Tim Cook made an interesting comment at D11 conference where he said Google Glass is not designed for mainstream. But in reality, you know, that's how all groundbreaking disruptive products start. One of the things that Jony Ives, the famous designer for Apple, said was that each person checks their phone every 10 minutes. And I thought about it, it's like every 10 minutes. I see people checking their phone every 2 minutes. In fact, I'm trying to detrain myself of checking my email too often, especially if you're driving. Don't drive and check your email, okay? I promise you, don't do that. I've stopped that habit. So not only don't text and drive, don't drive and check your email. But I thought about it. You know what's so cool about Google Glass is that they're changing the battlefront. So, you know, if I can wear glasses and check my data, whether it's my email or text, whatever, through my glasses and not have to look down, there's a lot of power in that. So I'm sure Tim Cook said it for many reasons because they're coming out with the iWatch. But bottom line is that Google Glass is disruptive because they changed the battlefield, and now the battlefield is fought on the interface front through different devices. And so if I'm Apple, I'm going to be very scared. Because now the dynamics of how you interact with data around you is obviously changing. So that's one of the things that I think is a difference between what Google's right now doing and what Apple is doing. So Apple is obviously, over the last 3 years, has done continuous incremental innovation. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big Apple fan, but there has been no groundbreaking innovation. We're hoping that obviously the iWatch is going to do it. On the other hand, Google has actually become one of the innovators, and so has Samsung and some of the other companies like Amazon. But I can tell you that you've got to, if you're looking to innovate, and this is one of the things that I was thinking about from a startup perspective especially, is that companies or startups do not fail because you know, they were underfinanced. They actually failed because they failed to innovate disruptively in a groundbreaking manner. So if you're a startup and you're doing something, you better make sure that whatever you're doing is groundbreaking innovation, because it's very difficult to break through the clutter. When I was younger, I had a boss that used to have this saying, and he was a great guy. His name was Charlie Kirkpatrick. Still is a great guy. And he was one of the greatest salesmen I've ever met. And he used to tell me, you looked like a Santa Claus, and he kind of acted like one, and he could sell you anything. In fact, he learned how to sell by selling Bibles door to door. And he said to me, Damir, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. And I thought about it, and I still remember that, the way he said it, because this guy could tell jokes all day long. I wish I could tell jokes like he does. He literally could tell you 20 jokes a second. But what I learned from that is, and you can use that same analogy in terms of startups or growing businesses. Companies don't companies don't plan to fail, they fail to innovate. So the moral of the lesson here is that if you're going to innovate, if you're going to succeed, if you're going to make your startup into a billion-dollar company, you have to combine both of the elements. Incremental innovation, which is you're changing, tweaking things as the market moves and evolves, and then disruptive innovation, which is like making some really cool stuff. And if you want to look in terms of disruptive innovation, look no further than Dyson. Dyson, the vacuum cleaner. If you haven't used one, I guarantee you, you will be inspired. So look nowhere else but Dyson, and check out how they're using disruptive innovation in very mundane types of products in the marketplace.